Okay, welcome back to another Roundtable TV Producers News Show. I'm Ryan Lastly, and I'm here with Aaron Burke, Rob Oberth, and Matt Dinger.
Hey, what's up?
And we're going to talk a little bit today about the Central States Coin Show and kind of coin shows in general. There's been a lot of back and forth about this recently, and I think it's important to kind of keep an open mind. This is a conversation that's been really controversial, but I think this is a conversation that needs to be had, and I'm glad there's people willing to do it in a public forum because it's not always the easiest thing to do. I'll see if, yeah, ding, ding, let the fight begin. So I think a good place to start would be, I didn't go to Central States, so why don't you guys just do a brief recap of Central States? Start with Aaron.
Oh, start with me? Okay.
Yeah.
So I went to the Roundtable had a trading room on Tuesday, so we went to that, and it was me handling Ancients and Mike Prince handling US. He did great. I did nothing, but that's okay because the whole point was I had to see a bunch of my peeps, which was awesome, eat some pizza, and have a good time. And then the show itself was at times very slow and times very good. But that's kind of shows in general, the way I feel about it. But in general, I had a great time with the Roundtable guys and a lot of fun and made some new connections. And so that was great.
Right. How'd it go for you, Rob?
We had a good show. Central States is historically one of the shows that has a large roundtable presence, and that's one of the reasons why I get excited about it. We do have, a pretty good presence there. So that's probably the reason I think it was pretty good. I think the show is probably, I think there was less collector presence there this time around, and we can speculate on why that might be. But generally speaking, the roundtable presence tends to make it a pretty good show, I think.
Right. Well, I think one thing that happens with Roundtable is the guys are rolling around wearing the badges, and it's just an easy icebreaker. Oh, hey, you're a Roundtable member, or oh, I saw you on Virtual Coin Show, or whatever.
You're so and so. Yeah, it's like exactly.
Or I got, oh, you're much shorter than I thought you were.
Oh, snap! That's brutal, bro. But hopefully they said like you're shorter, but you are better looking in person.
Well, it was Janine, so because I'd never met Janine before. So I said, well, I have a huge personality, and she's like, yes, you do.
That's one of the cool things about what we're doing is because Aaron and Janine are both very engaged in Roundtable, and they're kind of up there as far as visibility. And the fact that they've never met surprised me. You guys have been on the floor together for a decade. And I hear that story all the time. People that I think I kind of know who everybody is, and I haven't met everybody, but to hear that this person's never met that person in real life shows me that we've got a long way to go as far as getting everybody connected.
Well, it's not so hard when you think about Ancients to US guys, because us Ancient guys, we all know each other. And if I mention an Ancient guy to any of you guys, you don't know any idea who they are. So
that's true.
Just the nature of the business. That's what makes Roundtable great.
Seriously, before I started really working with Ancients a lot over the last few years, this is no joke, the only Ancient name I really knew was Harlan Burke. Because of the 100 Greatest Ancient Coins book?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So
my dad's been around a long time, so that has, especially in the United States, so that has a lot to do.
Matt, you went to Central States too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How'd that go for you?
Oh, it was good. We were walking the floor. We set up in the trading room, and had a lot of fun there. For us, that show is probably more of a social call than anything else, just as far as
networking, meeting up with new folks. And it's actually probably one of my favorite shows of the year just for that particular reason. Because like Rob said, there's a big roundtable turnout. There's, it's relatively local to us. It's a 4-hour drive. So I see a lot of people that, I do interact with occasionally. It was just, the show was fun. We had a great time. The roundtable turnout was awesome. The baseball game was fun. Even though I didn't get to go, but that's okay. It was fun.
Baseball game looked like a riot, man. I saw those pictures. You guys were rolling deep.
I would say more like a sloppy mess, but that's okay. That's what's fun, right? But yeah, I mean that just all these people getting together in their baseball gear, towards the end of a day of working seemed like there were a lot of smiles, a lot of laughs, and that's what it's about.
Right.
Hey, you were there for the after party, Matt.
I was. I kept the beer cold for everybody until they got back. But yeah, it was fun. And like I said, to us personally, that is where that show is important. So,
yeah.
Right. So it seems like what I'm hearing is there was a lot of networking going on. There was maybe more wholesale trading. Retail was sort of hit and miss.
Yeah.
I didn't have a table, so we were strictly wholesale, but I'll kind of defer to the guys that did on that one. So
we just need more excitement at these shows, and we need frankly, people running them that kind of have their finger on the pulse of what's next, and kind of spearheading new ideas to make them exciting. And I think that's what we're going to try to do with CoinX.
Well, I think most of I think one thing is as dealers, we need to give people a reason to go to coin shows, and I've heard some great ideas for CoinX, the show that Roundtable TV is sort of organizing. So what are some things that you guys are going to do differently from some of the other shows that we've talked about in the past?
Everything.
Well, that's the thing. When I walk into a show and I look around at any show, and it's not just any particular show, you can kind of take a picture of the floor, turn it black and white, and it looks just like it did 50 years ago. There's nothing new, nothing exciting. If you go to a jewelry show or a comic con type of a show, Dragon Con, any of those shows, they feel exciting, they feel new. And we do not do that in the coin industry at all. There's nothing new at the coin shows that wasn't here 50 years ago. And that's what we need to think. We need to think outside the box, and we need to bring from everything from the ambiance to activities to how trades are made on the floor. We're thinking about every aspect that we can possibly think of, and we will. It may be one thing, it may be a conglomeration of 5 or 10 different ideas that make our show the best, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it the best show and the most talked about show of the year.
Nice. Well, it's going to be cool to see what you guys come up with. When is the show?
It's November 6th, to November 9th, St. Charles Convention Center, just outside of St. Louis.
Okay. And I know this group's very open to ideas, so if anybody does have an idea about what they think would make a coin show truly great, go ahead and comment in this video's thread, and go ahead and throw some ideas out there for the guys. I know they'd at least listen. And if it's a good idea, knowing these guys also, they'll probably do it.
So I'm gonna bring up about my theories on coin shows really quick. So, and I brought this up in the Facebook group since got a lot of flack. But but if we
You're never
really
one to shy away from controversy, Aaron. That's why I love you, man. So
if we really look at what coin shows have become, they're, in a sense, they've become, huge regional shows, meaning there, even when I started in '92, people were still traveling to coin shows from all over the country. You could see the same huge collectors at almost every single coin show, and you could count on them to come in and spend X amount of money. And so even the early birds were packed, not just with dealers who didn't have tables, but with actual real collectors. And that's not happening anymore. You can blame that on the internet and just the way that business is being conducted these days. The other problem that we have right now, and I've talked about this with several people in my business as well as other dealers across the country, and nobody likes the idea because everybody wants their weekends free. So if you look at the A&A, it used to start on a Monday or Tuesday and then run through Sunday. Then they cut it back to Saturday. Well, that just means now that all the dealers leave on Friday night. So if you end a show on Saturday, they leave on Friday. If you end it on Sunday, they leave on Saturday. So so when new collectors who can't get off work because they're not making enough money, or kids who obviously can't get off work because they don't go to work, they go to school, are the only time they're going to come to shows is on a weekend. And when they walk into a show, a big show that's been heavily advertised in the area, they find half the tables empty, or they find dealers who don't want to spend time with them because they're exhausted because they've been there from Tuesday or Wednesday all the way through Saturday and they're ready to go home. And in the business these days, it's considered tire kicker days, and that's the problem. If we really want to grow our industry, we've got to change it. And the only way we're going to change is if we actually run a show over a weekend that runs shorter. And the problems things I hear is I do all my business on the internet. It's all wholesale anyway. It wasn't that way. It used to be retail business. Now it's all wholesale because it's all the dealers looking at ech other, trying to figure out a way to buy themselves out of the show. And number two, it's I lost my train of thought because Ryan left.
Okay, well, my wonderful pug Java decided to
join
our ottoman and start messing with like the remote controls and all the stuff my wife keeps on there. So we'll let him join the end of the show. So yeah, I think you bring up some important points, Aaron, and I, given the fact that you're going to be sort of organizing as a part of Roundtable this CoinX event, I'm glad that there's some guys working on it that see these things happening and are willing to put forth some solutions.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. Shows are not going to change the way they are right now. But my feeling is if they don't change, you can pretty much kiss shows goodbye at some point. And the one thing that everybody complains about with all of us looking at our phones every day and all of us on the internet every day is there's no face-to-face human contact anymore. And so what you're seeing more and more of, just like you see with food and everybody going to organic and wanting to go back in time, you're going to eventually see that people who actually get together face-to-face and actually have a communication with each other is where business is going to start to go to. And so as an industry, instead of having the way we were running shows before the internet 30 years ago, why don't we change with the times, work on new collectors, and spend the time to spend over a weekend. I don't care if you can't sleep in on Saturday. This is our job. This is our industry. If you really want to change it, do something about it. If you don't care and you make enough money or you're retiring, I get it. But for the rest of us that are going to be here for a while, these are the changes we have to make. These are the sacrifices that have to be made.
And my theory might be a little skewed from that to some extent, just because I think that we need to follow the trends, listen to what people want, see what they're doing, and try to embrace what they want. And that means, and we can do a few things. The shows are empty on Saturdays. We can try to encourage dealers to stay. There's going to be a large segment of dealers that are not going to stay no matter what. The issue is filling the tables and not having empty tables. So if we can fill those tables last minute with smaller dealers, or move some of the dealers from the back of the show up to the front of the show and maybe put up a partition, I think there's ways to solve the issues twofold. One, encouraging dealers to stay, but also recognizing the fact that many of them are not going to stay no matter what we do. So figuring out a way to fill those tables is probably the number one priority.
Well, you got to identify who those dealers are. There's dealers that are going to always leave, and there's going to be dealers that are used to running, working smaller regional shows that work through the weekend. So it just depends on identifying those dealers and hopefully getting them to come. Obviously, we want big dealers, and it's the big dealers that usually leave early. right? So, so that, yeah, I think it's a very difficult challenge for sure.
Well, I think one thing that can be done is if you look at events that have sort of progressed, if you will, or succeeded in the modern environment that might have been waning in the past, a lot of them have done it through social media and sort of treating things like an event, making it entertaining, doing some of the things that Rob was talking about, like Comic-Con. Half the people don't even go to buy comics, or maybe more than half don't even go to buy comics. They're there to see people in the costumes, their cosplay. They're there to see the famous actors from the comic book movies and all that kind of stuff. So I think if we sort of adopt those sort of ideas and think, okay, what's the equivalent of that for coins, and how do we make this an event and give these people a reason to go to this show, then you'll have a lot more traffic and it'll solve some of those issues.
I bet those shows are over a weekend.
They sure are. Comic-Con goes through Sunday every single time.
Absolutely.
And
if you want people in the door, gotta do it over a weekend. Exactly. And you know what? The other thing too is, you know what all the shows, all the show organizers are now who they're catering to? The auction houses. They're not catering to the dealers. They're catering to the auction houses. And we all know that the auction houses have killed business for a lot of small dealers. Okay. So if we really want to change the way we're doing things, we've got to we have to really start to anchor us with the collectors that are coming up and not with the auction houses. I get they want to, all the auction houses want on their auctions Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It doesn't really matter for them. They can just run it all day long. But, ultimately, the public doesn't show up till the weekends.
Well, when the auction houses are giving the shows six-figure sponsorships,
right?
It's hard to battle that.
Yep.
Really?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think these have been some great ideas, and we'd love to hear anybody else weigh in. Please comment and tell us your ideas, what's right with shows, what's wrong with shows. Give these guys some ideas for CoinX. And where is CoinX happening, guys?
St. Louis.
St. Louis, November 22nd. Is that right?
November 6th to November 9th.
Oh, Samsonite. I was way off. Okay, November 6th. To November 9th. Make sure you stay tuned for CoinX. And, of course, follow us on all the channels. We are also on Twitter and Instagram with Roundtable TV. Send us your videos. Say hi to us. We love interacting with people in the community. So thanks, guys, for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you guys soon.
See ya.
Bye.